Hey there, it's Tim. Thanks for joining us this week. Great episode in store for you, but I want you to listen carefully to this little clip here. It's a little on the longer side, so I wanted to sort of get a little prep. It's from King TV in Seattle from November of last year. Give a listen because you'll understand why we're honored to have the great Dean Tolson on our show coming up right after this clip.
First one scores the basket wins.
All his NBA hoop dreams had come true.
I had everything.
But Seattle Supersonic Dean Tolson had a secret.
And then realized that I didn't have nothing.
Dean grew up poor, even living in an orphanage for 5 years when his mother could no longer afford to take care of her children.
I forgave her because she came back and got us.
One day, his aunt brought home a friend who just happened to be basketball legend Wilt Chamberlain.
He was this awesome figure to me, something like I had never seen before in my life.
Inspired, Dean set his sights on the NBA.
So then basketball became your tool, not academics.
No, never academics.
He faced failure in the classroom, but took flight on the court.
In high school, I averaged 30 points a game and 20 rebounds.
A coach had another student take Dean's college entrance exams for him.
And so I didn't have to worry about anything.
Though he couldn't read or write, he got into the University of Arkansas, where the academic staff looked the other way.
They gave me my grades.
While he set team records that stand to this day.
We had the parking lot around the back there.
In 1974, Dean was drafted by the Sonics.
It's a dream come true that you get to do this.
He had a freewheeling style.
Slam dunking from everywhere.
Once netting 12 points in just 60 seconds.
The most points ever scored by any NBA player in 1 minute. Me.
But Coach Bill Russell took a more buttoned-down approach.
He believed in a fast break, but he called it the controlled fast break. Well, what's a controlled fast break?
Dean was cut after 3 seasons and embarked on an international career. From Anchorage to Athens, he gave it his all for the next decade and paid with a battered and broken body.
It's over. At 32 years old, I figured out that I couldn't read and write. I was illiterate.
Dean's mother begged him to go back to college.
And then the tears started rolling down her eyes from underneath her glasses. And my mother don't cry. She don't do that. And I knew I better listen.
He got a tutor and got his degree.
I finally did it.
Dean started the first black-owned carpet cleaning business in Tacoma, then went back to school one more time, graduating Magna cum laude with a master's degree at the age of 57.
My name is Dean Tolson. I played with Seattle Supersonics for 4 years.
He's dedicated his life to guiding the next generation of dreamers and doers.
I've been talking to kids since the day I graduated, 1988, until this very day I talk to them. Because you can do it. Every one of you can do it.
The guy who once couldn't read a book has now written one, a memoir called Power Forward.
And I've gone from illiteracy to a bestseller.
The story of Dean Tolson's life is one of perseverance, of dreams delayed, but never denied.
Never give up and never quit, and you will win. 1, 2, 3. Supersonics!
Welcome to Good Seats Still Available, a curious little podcast devoted to exploring what used to be in professional sports. Here's your host, Tim Hanlon.
All right, let's get going, shall we? It's Tim Hanlon, officially your pal, your chief confidant in all things forgotten and defunct sports and all that kind of great stuff. This is Good Seats Still Available, the curious little podcast that is devoted to that kind of stuff. What we like to say is the stuff that used to be in professional sports. Thanks for finding us. And again, as mentioned, Dean Tolson is our guest. And you got a sense there of where we're headed in this conversation. This is obviously a show that tends to focus on the interestingness of leagues and teams and situations and relocations and defunctness and all that kind of stuff. And a lot of times it's more on the light side or the incredulous or the head scratching, a tad bit of humor along the way. But we also have been known certainly to get into very serious topics and things that are, more life important than the vicissitudes, shall we say, of professional sports franchises. And this is a really excellent example. And I was delighted to meet Dean a couple of weeks back in our conversation. I think you will enjoy it. I know I did. It is the story of a basketball player that essentially, played for the Seattle Supersonics for a number of years in the 1970s during their sort of ascendancy to some championships and their legacy, which we've talked about on many previous episodes. And then an interesting bounce around career after that, and we'll get into some of the reasons why, in the also mentioned CBA, Continental Basketball Association, especially with the Anchorage Northern Knights, if you remember them in the late 70s, early 80s, including a championship season, the Northern Knights, in 1980. But also a basketball bandit, self-titled, Dean was, by playing in various locations all around the globe, in Greece and a number of other places. And we'll sort of find out sort of the story as to why Dean was sort of a highly recruited and top draft pick in the 1974 draft, playing with the Sonics, who were quite successful with Bill Russell and others at that time, and why he wound up going to various places, both internationally as well as stretched domestically, right? Anchorage being a pretty far outpost in the CBA, and the story behind his life, because it was not an easy one. And as you get a sense already, illiteracy and getting passed along because of his basketball wizardry, but essentially not benefiting because lacking the rigor of anything resembling an education, and illiteracy prime among it. And the story of, if you will, I guess, call it redemption. I think Dean will tell you in heartfelt tones in our conversation, the ills of playing to the sort of professionalism of sports and to the exclusion of all else, and being enabled, frankly, by others along the way, and not knowing any better along the way. And Dean's current life is focused on helping kids of all ages, whether they be in that pipeline now of pro sports or basketball or whatever, or just ideating sort of the beginnings of that kind of concept, that idea, the dreams, not unimportant to have, but the realities that come along with those dreams if you are not careful. And I think this is just a wonderful conversation. I think you'll enjoy it. And a great book that he just published a few months back, actually the latter part of 2023, that I highly recommend that you get, that sort of gets to this story and tells the sort of amazingness of it, being both a draftee of the NBA and the ABA, the Supersonics and the then New York Nets. It's another reason why we're intrigued with this story. But sort of the challenge of a pro career and then some, and life thereafter. In this story, the book is called Power Forward: My Journey from Illiterate NBA Player to Magna Cum Laude Master's Degree. And it's an amazing story, and it is available now wherever good books are found. Of course, you can find a convenient link to that book on our website at goodseatsstillavailable.com. It is published by Lions Press, and if you search up this episode number 347, you'll find that link. That'll take you to Amazon. You can get a copy of it very quickly, either in Kindle or hardcover form. And as they say, you will be glad you did. We'll get a couple of shekels of referral love for purchasing it that way. Well, I'm not going to say any more. I'm just going to let the conversation do the talking. So here it is. We had it at the beginning of April. I appreciate Dean's tolerance in finally allowing us to get it to you. A lot of other conversations that got in the way, but I am pleased to present it to you now. And as always, please, indeed, enjoy. This is a very amazing story, and I have a
Well,
feeling,
thank you.
I have a feeling that this is not uncommon, and just not talked about as much, perhaps even in today's.
It should be.
Well, there's no question about that. So why don't we kind of get a little bit of the of your story growing up, and then we'll get into the college and the hijinks. Yeah.
Okay.
Give me a sense of where you grew up and how you discovered basketball in the midst of growing up and all that.
Okay, you got a hot mic on right now?
I'm hot. Go for it.
Okay. Yeah, my name's Dean Tolson, and I grew up in the inner city of Kansas City, Missouri, which was a ghetto and still is a ghetto to this day. As a child growing up.
And for our listeners who don't have the benefit of seeing you, at least I did briefly, in full Kansas City Chiefs regalia. So you're a Kansas City guy through and through, right?
Yeah. Well, I was in the first Kansas City Chiefs Super Bowl in 1970 with Lynn Dawson and Hank Stram. And they won the Super Bowl in 1970, the same year I graduated from high school. So I was partying and celebrating in the city with them that year. First year they ever won it. Now they've won 2 since then.
And maybe a new stadium to come out of it too, if we're lucky, right?
Yeah. You know, the city was a city of violence, like Chicago, St. Louis, Kansas City, Kansas, Kansas City, Missouri. And that was the environment and atmosphere that I grew up in. And there was no focus on kids going to school and getting an education at that time. And the only way that if you were lucky, the only way you were focused is your parents had an education at that time. My mom had an 8th grade education and my dad had a 3rd grade. So when I went to school, it was considered recess. I went there to play intramurals and team sports and basketball and football and baseball. That's what we did until I was 18 years old, and then figured out I wasn't able to read and write, do math.
So sports really was kind of the thing that was getting you up in the morning, going to school, really, not the classwork, right?
Well, yeah, and my mama who would beat me if I wasn't in that schoolhouse. Yeah. If I
sure. As a coping mechanism, though, you want to go to school and you gravitate to stuff you're interested in, right?
I would have rather played hooky and skip school, Tim, if it wasn't for basketball.
All right. Well, so there was something then about sports and the team play and that kind of stuff. And what specifically about basketball, and more importantly, when did you kind of know that you not only you were interested, but even had maybe some skill?
6th, 7th, 8th grade, middle school. I could dunk the ball in middle school.
How tall were you then? You must have obviously
6'1".
You were 6'1" in 7th grade?
6th grade.
That's insane. Did you come from a lineage of tall people in your family? Was this like expected?
Yeah, Tim, I was 6'2" in the 8th grade and 6'4" in the 9th grade.
Okay, so then the natural question is, who found who first? Was it the coach and coaches, or you and finding the sport? I think I know the answer. I have to know the answer.
It was me. And,
Come on.
And the violence in the city. I mean, you either resorted to the violence or you play sports. There's only 2 things to do.
But I mean, like in the hallways of the class of school, right? I mean, the coaches.
I skipped class, but I was in the schoolhouse.
Right, but coaches must have been salivating the fact that you were so tall. I mean, you were kind of like a gift walking down the hallway, right?
Yeah, Tim. I averaged 30 points a game and 20 rebounds a game in high school. I was the top player in the state of Missouri when I came out, and that's how Arkansas ended up with me.
Well, okay, so give me a sense then of how high school. So, all right, so you get out of grade school and you go into high school, obviously with that kind of size and budding skill, right? I'm sure there were plenty of even high school coaches that would have loved to have somehow recruited you or brought you into the mix. But explain to me, though, the transition from playing basketball and going to school in grade school with your first couple of years of high school, because you've said it already, and it's obviously a huge theme of this book and your story. How do you get into high school?
You have to consider, I was a straight F student academically. Straight F. From grade school all the way through my senior year in high school, I was a straight F student. So my talent was accepted by all the coaches and the teachers because you're representing the school. I'm representing Central High School. And I'm the top player on the team. So quite naturally, they want me to play and help win the games. So they give me my grades, right? Because you flunk out, you can't play. So they give me D's, occasional C's, and more F's. But the D's and C's that I got were gifts. The F's I got were earned by me.
Okay, well, so that leads me to another question then. So was there any attempt on your part, or did you have any interest in any of it? And did you want to make a good go of it? Or were you just so scared off by being in the classroom and obviously ashamed or reluctant because of your lack of literacy skills?
Tim, in your life, have you ever known anything about nothing in your life, anywhere along the way?
Every day, it seems.
You got that tied you up, didn't it? In other words, if you're illiterate, you don't know anything about nothing.
So life becomes coping more than anything else, right?
It's survival. Right. I'm just surviving in that atmosphere, existing and surviving with just because the other kids are at school, I'm at school as well. But some of them that got parents that were educated, they came there to learn, but I did not. I didn't come there to learn.
Was there anybody getting through high school that saw your challenges, stepped up and said, and maybe identified them? Or was everybody basically just bowing at the prowess of the athlete that was, helping the school win and blind to it?
I think that they were caught up in the allure of it all. For instance, I'm the top player in Missouri in basketball. I'm 6'9". I got a 45, 46-inch vertical. And they are coming to see me play. I'm averaging 30 points a game and 20 rebounds a game. They are caught up in the allure of that. I was caught up in the educational deficit of that, which nobody cared.
Did you care? Were you playing along, so to speak?
I didn't know to care. I was illiterate. That's what I just explained to you. What do you know about something if you're illiterate about it? What do you know about it? You don't know nothing.
So how do you...
If you told me to sit down and do a high school algebra problem, I would laugh at you. You got to be kidding me.
So okay. So I'm really trying to get into the sort of the dynamic here of, and don't take this the wrong way, but I guess the outsider would say, who's using who in this regard?
I'm trying to get into the psychology of it with what happened to me to answer and respond to your questions. Psychologically and mentally, educationally, I was not capable of spelling cat. I couldn't spell cat. I couldn't write. I couldn't read. I couldn't do math. I didn't start to learn to read and write, Tim, until I was 32 years old.
And basketball and your success in that was what? Your solace, your salvation, your go-to, your expertise that solved everything else that was not right with your life?
Yes, I did the best I could do with the hand I was dealt. That's being poor in the inner city of violence, which is a distraction. You're black male. You got gangs running all through the city. They fighting, they murdering, they killing, they robbing. This goes on every day. If you saw, they shot 26 people at the Super Bowl in Kansas City.
Yeah, sadly, it's still pervasive, and but
one,
clearly,
but they shot 26. They lucky more didn't die. Okay, this is the inner city violence I dealt with till I was 18 years old. I couldn't wait to get out of there.
Yeah, and I'm wondering, and I you kind of touch on this a little bit, but in the book, I'm wondering if others around you, your parents, your teachers, your coaches, your friends, almost kind of wanted to protect you from the academic stuff that was just a challenge and whatever, knowing your gifts on the basketball court and knowing, right, and probably you did too at a fairly early age, that if there was any ticket out of there, it was going to be through this pathway.
Yeah, it was through basketball. That was my ticket out of the city. I have been public speaking to kids for 40 years now, since 1988, okay? The day I graduated, got my undergraduate degree. And my approach to this is education starts in the home with the parent, with the parents, mom and dad. That's where it starts. And if you lose a foothold on that starting out, you may have lost the kid going forward. Educationally, they lost me going forward in that process of the educational system. I public speak to kids on this topic right now about them taking the initiative to apply themselves, work hard at their lesson, okay? Don't cut class, don't drop out of school, work so hard until it hurts, like I did, where you got tears running down your eyes to figure out how to get this study in the books and pass these tests and graduate after 4 years. Hang in there, that they can do it. I was illiterate and did it. And I know for a fact that all of them are not illiterate. They just need to apply themselves a little bit more and work a little bit harder. You agree, Tim?
Certainly. And, but also it is harder, right? When you don't have some of that, that basic foundation, right? Whether that's parental, right. Or the family situation, or the safety, frankly, food safety and safety and all that stuff, right? I mean,
there's so many moving parts and underlying factors in this here. You can't shake a stick at it. It's too many. But I somehow miraculously pulled it all together, is what I'm trying to explain to you.
So tell me how basketball then was driving you, because it seems like in many respects it was it was truly your only North Star.
It was a love. See, some people like things and some people love things. I love the game of basketball because I knew I was better than all of the rest of them out there. I knew it. But politically, I wasn't going to be given a real chance to do it. And that's another thing that drove me back to school, to prove that I can do something other than just play basketball. And that's what I want these kids to understand. Become that student athlete, not that athlete student. That's my testimony and message to these athletes coming after me. Be a student first. then an athlete, and then be both, and then be the best as you can at both. My athletic ability finally transferred over into the classroom where I applied that same effort that I applied on the basketball court in the classroom starting at 32 years old.
I want to come around to that pursuit post basketball career eventually. So we put a push pin on that for a second. But let's go back to like 1969, 1970 or so when
graduation.
Right. So give me a sense of what recruitment was like for you. You must have been attracting a whole lot of people from all over the place.
Yeah, I had a couple of hundred scholarships, KU Jayhawks, Oklahoma Sooners, Arkansas Razorbacks. I mean, schools down in Texas, and I had scholarships from everywhere. But when they found out what my grades were, it was over. And Arkansas was the only one that was willing to do something that shouldn't have been done. And I went with it.
What's that something? And maybe you can kind of take a step back and kind of put that in the context, right? Because I think today with NIL and all this kind of stuff, I mean, 1969, 1970, very different world. Maybe you can explain sort of how this came to be with Arkansas.
In those years, it was commonly known that universities did things to get students into their university, even though they did not have the high school transcript upon graduation to enter into those universities around the country. I was not the first and only one. I am the first and only one who overcame it in the history of the United States, though. Not only an undergraduate, but all the way to a master's degree, and then graduate magna cum laude in my master's program. So someone took my ACT, SAT test for me. That's how I got in.
How many people knew about this?
At that time, nobody. My mother didn't even know. And I promised the coach I would not tell my mother that he and I did that. So he started recruiting me when I was 16.
Why do you think? I mean, why do you think that they were the only school? It would seem to me that there would be, with all due respect, plenty of other schools that would bend the rules to kind of get a talent like you, similar to what Arkansas did.
The point of the matter is, don't cheat for students and athletes. Don't cheat for them. If you're interested in them, get them at an early age. You take somebody like Kobe Bryant. I mean, this kid was, and LeBron James, the kid is that talented at 13 and 14 years old. You'd see where he's going with it. So start working with him then. If he got problems with his grades and his curriculum and his schooling, start working with him when you first find him. That you first learn of his talent, that he got an academic problem. Get on it right then. If you're serious about helping the kid. Well, nobody's serious about helping me. They were serious about that 30 points a game and 20 rebounds a game is what they were serious about.
Well, that's what I used the word earlier. I mean, you're being used in many respects, right? But then again, I mean, you're also benefiting, I guess, right? So what's the psychology? What's the psychology of that?
It's a double-edged sword.
Yeah.
However, don't make it right. You know how many kids cannot overcome what I did? 90% of them, Tim? 98, 99?
No, the odds are astronomical, right? And I really want to get a sense though of what, where is your head at after that happens and you're at the university, right? Obviously you're with the coaches and the basketball program, but on a grander stage, you're still dealing with the same issues off the court, right? Which is the majority of your day, the majority of your week, the majority of the months that you're there, right? You can only play basketball so much and be coddled by the team for so long, right? You still have to bake your way
They
through
gave
life.
me my grades the first 3 years I was there. My senior year, they flunked every single class I signed up for. They flunked me. It's in Sports Illustrated. Okay. They give me C's, a few B here and there. But when it's time for them to keep giving me my grades and I possibly graduate, they shut it down. And I got all F's. So I went into the NBA. In the last semester, I never went to one class. I got 6 F's out of 6 different classes and went straight from there to the NBA. My senior year, second semester. Got drafted, went straight to the NBA, never looked back. I never dreamed I would ever graduate from college. Ever.
So at that time,
I left 80 hours of F grade there on a 124-hour transcript. So imagine going to school for 4 years and making 80 hours of F and then another 40-something hours of D. My grade point average was 1.333 something. That's what I went back to graduate.
No, and that's an amazing story. The fact that you went back to your, we call it alma mater, right? Right, is even more poignant. But when you're going through the motions, right, of college and the basketball, forget about the basketball for a second. Do you even care because you know that you're basically being, you use the term passed along? Do you even care about like even putting in through effort and stuff? It doesn't sound like you're getting too much incentive to actually attend class and actually go through the mechanics of actual academics.
What I cared about, Tim, was I finally realized after playing at every single level of basketball, high school, college, NBA, and 12 years internationally overseas, that Dean Tolson was a failure. That's what I cared about and realized. You got that?
But you're not a failure when you're,
no, basketball, I don't have anything left. I'm 32 years old. I got nothing left. And I played at every level. I got nothing. I care about that, wouldn't you?
Oh, certainly. But I think in the moment, though,
I just explained it to you that I cared about not having nothing after being successful at all of those levels. That's what I cared about.
In the moment, though, right? As a college player, you're getting drafted by both leagues at the time, right? I mean, that's
NBA, yes.
Amazing time. Where is your head at, though? Your head's not thinking about what you're going to be doing at 34 or 32. Your head's at, I want to go to the, I want to start making my mark here and make some bucks here in playing pro basketball, which is a dream for a whole host of kids, right?
Now you have entered into the world of politics that these kids and students do not understand coming out of college, which included me. I did not understand the politics, and that's how I got taken advantage of, and that's why I went back and did what I did. You following me now?
So okay. So tell me how the drafting process went, and maybe more importantly, once you decided on the Supersonics, I don't want to talk about the Nets too. The contracts and that kind of stuff. Who's managing your business affairs? Who do you trust?
I couldn't read the contracts.
Of course not.
I trusted in Bill Russell, and he politically damaged me because I thought that he would treat me right once I got there and showed him how much talent I had. And it had nothing to do with me having talent. It had what it had to do with was 100% politics. Wasn't nothing to do with how well I could play or couldn't play. But see, politically, I didn't know that's how it worked when I went there. I'm illiterate.
Explain politics to me, though, because, okay, illiterate, yes.
Okay, you got a first-round draft choice. Okay? He gets the most money. because he's the first round pick, right?
Sure.
Okay. Well, I'm the 5th round pick. By me making it in the NBA, I became the lowest paid NBA player on contract in the history of the NBA. I made $248 every 2 weeks for 4 years. That's the politics.
Did you know you were being taken advantage of at the time? You must have.
Whatever you want to call 240. You know any other NBA player that made $248 every 2 weeks? I'll say it again. I was the lowest paid NBA player in the history of the NBA for 4 years, from 1974 to 1978. My lunch money was more than my salary in the NBA. This is why this story is so important for me to get it to these kids to understand their pipe dream will not work out the way they think it's going to. They must understand this and get their education.
All right, what's this? Oldschoolshirts.com. Fantastic. You've heard me talk on and on and on about the great folks and the great wares at oldschoolshirts.com. Like the name implies, it's old school and it's shirts, and they put them together, see, into what they call oldschoolshirts.com. It's like the name implies, but of course, we love them primarily for their sportswear. You name the league of the past, you name the team of the past, the chances are huge that they're going to have more than one shirt and different color schemes for things that you may remember from the United Football League or the Major Indoor Soccer League or various flavors of the original XFLs, plural, or the Federal League perhaps, or maybe World Team Tennis, or maybe it was the North American Soccer League, and on and on and on. But hey, it's not just sports. It's also great cultural touchstones and memories from the past. How about the officially licensed Evel Knievel connection? How about collection? Yeah, that's what he's trying to say. Various colleges. How about dead malls of the past? Ice cream parlors, maybe even radio stations that you might remember. Hey, even there's a latest edition of the now old, Aloha Stadium commemorative shirt. All that kind of stuff and more. You will find at least a handful of shirts that you will just transport you back into your past, and you will amaze and impress your friends at the same time. It's oldschoolshirts.com, and we got a promo code for you, of course. Let's save you some dough while you go there, and its promo code is Good Seats. Good Seats. That's the promo code at oldschoolshirts.com. Promo code Good Seats for 10% off all of your purchases. Hey, P.F. Wilson and your friends at oldschoolshirts.com, thank you for your sponsorship of the show. And now, back to our conversation. Tell me then, you're in with Seattle in 74, 75, 76, 77. And then an interesting bounce around to the Philippines as well as the Continental Basketball Association. Give us a sense of how you're managing all of this, right? You're in the wilderness, right, without any true education per se. You're not getting paid nearly what you're worth, yet you're also performing at a very high level in various aspects of professional basketball. How are you holding up after all this? How are you managing? And frankly, how are you doing on the court, too?
After 4 years of playing in the NBA, I started going overseas. As you just said, I went to the Philippines and I went to Venezuela and Argentina, South America, Central America, went all over the world. And anytime a player can go to those places and average 45 or 50 points a game like I did in these countries, and everybody knows the Dean Tolson story, they call me the International Vagabond Basketball Bandit. That was my credentials. Because I'd go play for the highest bidder around the world because I couldn't play right here in my own country and make a decent salary. I make more money over there than I did over here. So politically, because you're the star, they're going to take care of you. You don't have to worry about reading and writing or anything. All you have to do is worry about hitting that 40 or 50 points a game, and then everything else is taken care of. Your plane ticket, round trip plane ticket, your passport, your visa, your cholera and malaria shots in the arm. They take care of all that. All you have to do is come there and be ready to play, so they won't send you back home in a couple of weeks for not being able to play. And if you hit 45 or 50 points, you ain't got to worry about being sent back home. That's how I navigated that.
Was there any chance that perhaps you could play the ABA to get a better paycheck, or perhaps get traded in the NBA?
The ABA was folding at that time, Tim. They were folding. They kept 4 teams. The Indiana Pacers, San Antonio Spurs, the New York Jets, Dr. J's team, and I think it was the Denver Nuggets. Those were the 4 teams they kept. The rest of them folded. So I was caught in that transition.
A blessing though that you didn't go. A blessing though you didn't go with the Nets in '74, right?
I said I should have went with Dr. J and Larry Keenan. I chose to go to Bill Russell. That was my mistake.
Well, was it a mistake? Because it wouldn't have been much a year or two later in New York, right?
I'd had a longer, better basketball career, and I'd have got paid more money. But what happened was I ended up not making no money, and God wanted me to have this story to share with these kids in this country. It is so vitally important because they're not reading at grade level consistently across the United States right now. It's awful.
I want to get to that in a minute, but before I let you go on the pro side, I do want to get a sense of, you mentioned obviously playing abroad and stuff, and I can imagine, right? You're probably more an attraction than anything else. Obviously, a high-playing player, but the fact that that you can command that kind of salary and that kind of attention abroad. But tell me about this Continental Basketball Association thing. You had a couple of successful seasons in that too, but that's clearly at the time a rung down from the NBA. Do you remember any particular nuggets from that? I mean, you played in Anchorage of all places, and Rochester, and these are. I wouldn't call them backwaters, but what was that like?
Well, I would tell you what, they were tough leagues. Those guys could play because they all wanted to be NBA players. That's why they up there playing. But they weren't as good as I was. There was not guys in the NBA that was good as I was. Okay? But politically, they were better than me. Politically. See, all I did was fight the politics just to even be involved in the game at any level, high school, college, and pro, and international. I fought politics at every level to play the game. And they would see me perform on the court and not reward me for it. That's why they call me the International Vagabond Basketball Bandit. Even though I'm performing, they don't want to pay me. So when I went up to Alaska, I made them pay me $5,000 a month, and I was the highest paid player in the CBA at that time. And I think somebody like Larry McNeil and guys like that were next after me with whatever they were getting. But it wasn't much. And $5,000 is not even a lot of money because the season only lasts 4 months up there. That's all it lasts is 4 months. Then it's over. Then you back out there trying to earn some money, trying to get on an airplane, go to Europe, go to South America where they're still playing around the world, and collect another $20,000 or $30,000 somewhere around the world. Vagabond. And I did that for 12 years.
That's what we today call a hustler, right? You're basically hustling to make a living at this game that you're.
Well, they called me a bandit because I would stick them up without a gun. They get them up.
Well, and you also won a championship up in Anchorage in your second season there with the Northern Knights.
We was 27-4 first year I was up there. Yeah. We only lost 4 games the whole season.
All right, let me ask you this though. I mean, playing in the CBA at the time, and obviously doing the international thing, and it looks, if I could look back on on the data that I see and some of the stuff you mentioned in the book, I got to think this is, it almost feels like it's kind of like a year round kind of exercise here where you have to, I mean, you're hustling to make money and play the game, but you're not getting any breaks here, right?
You got to be in shape year round because you never know when the job is going to come up. See, you got to be ready to play all the time. Tim, I played till I was 38 years old. I took my last contract in Argentina, South America, okay? When they had the Falkland War over there, okay? I was over there playing at that time. That was the last contract I had. I was turning 37 years old. And then when I finished that contract, I dropped out of school to take that little contract over there, get $20-something thousand, and then come back and enroll in school and then finish graduating. That was the last time I played. And I said, you know what? I got to cut this basketball thing loose. It's over. 37 years old, and I need to go on and finish school and graduate and get my undergraduate. And then when I finished that, I went back out to Seattle and started my own carpet and upholstery cleaning company, working for myself, where I had truck mounted equipment and I had trucks running all over Seattle and Tacoma cleaning carpet, commercial carpet cleaning, using hot water extraction. So I transitioned from playing ball to running my own business for 20 years. Then I hurt my back and I went back to school to get my master's at 53. And then I graduated at 57 with my master's. So nobody can tell me it can't be done. Nobody. You can do it.
I want to get into the decision process when your career was ending and your decision to go to that next level with a completely different career path. But before that, I got to ask, given how hard you must have been on your body, traveling all the time, playing in leagues where maybe you didn't have the most proper medical care or nutrition and all that kind of stuff, how did you stay healthy for that long in your career?
My body was like LeBron James. I was never an injury-prone player. I never was injured. I played 30 straight years in my life without an injury. The first injury I ever got, I'm 33 years old. I'm over there in Valencia, Venezuela, and the roof was leaking and the water was on the floor and I didn't see it. I'm running down the floor on a fast break and I popped the ACL in my knee, in my right knee. That was the first injury I ever sustained.
You realize how lucky, you realize how lucky you were to escape injury that long.
Yeah, I got my nose broke in college, but you can still play with a broke nose, But that was the only bone I ever broke was in my knee. Well, the bone wasn't broke, the ACL was torn. And so it took me, I still played 3 more years after I tore that knee, and it hurt so bad. I went to Athens, Greece after that and played there. And that's when I dropped out. That's when I went. I gave that contract up and went back to the University of Arkansas as a freshman from Athens, Greece.
Okay, take us into your mindset during that time in Greece. Your injury is,
my
clearly
knee is hurting real bad,
unavoidable. Give us a sense of how you what's the process in your head that says, I'm going to do this next?
Okay. My knee was hurting so bad, I knew I had to retire. And with a bad knee, I'm still averaging about 40 points a game in Athens, Greece. Okay?
That's insane. That's insane.
I can't even jump and run. Okay. And so I'm dragging this leg and I'm saying, and it hurts so bad, I got to get the ice on it in timeouts and got to get ice on it after the game and before the game. Just nurturing that knee. And I'm saying to myself, you ask me what I'm thinking. I'm thinking I got to give the game up. So I went home after the end of that season We lost the European Cup to France that year. Okay. I was in the European Cup and they beat us. And I went home, and that's when my mama talked me in to going back to college and getting my undergraduate degree. And she hid my plane ticket and my passport and my contract to go back to Athens, Greece. She hid it in the attic of the house away from me while I was visiting her. And so I was seriously considering going back over there because I didn't have no education. And she talked me into enrolling in the University of Arkansas and getting my undergraduate degree.
In what? And did you go willingly? It sounds like you kind of did. It was like a lifeline almost.
No, I always, that's another message for the kids out here listening. Always listen to your parents because they're the only ones that love you and they're never going to tell you nothing wrong growing up or in your lifetime. They're going to tell you the right thing that they think that you should do. And sometimes if you don't listen to them, you will pay the consequences later in your life. And this time, I decided to listen to my mother. I would not have this story if it wasn't for me listening to her that day and not go back to Greece. She went up in the attic. She got that passport, the contract, and the plane ticket. And she said, here it is. But you know what? You're making a big mistake if you don't go back to that university and try and overcome illiteracy and graduate and do something with your life constructively. And you won't be able to do it without a degree. And she says they're willing to pay for it down there. You need to take advantage of that, son. And I listened to her and did it. And that's why I'm sitting here talking to you today.
So we're talking what, 1982?
Oh, in 1984.
Okay.
84 to 88. I did the whole 4 years over, Tim. I went to the University of Arkansas from 1970 to 1974. Then I went to the Sonics. Then I went back to the University of Arkansas, 1984, 1988. Then I went back and got my master's degree in 2003, and then did 4 more years and graduated in 2007.
You just took a couple of breaks, that's all.
I took breaks?
Yeah. in between degrees, just a couple of years off, that happens all the time. No, okay. So you said Arkansas is going to pay for it, right? Was there guilt maybe in wanting you to come back and graduate for real?
There was a specific man that I dedicated the entire book to. When you open the book up, you see his picture and my picture together. His name is Frank Broyles, the athletic director of the University of Arkansas for 50 years.
Legendary.
He's the one that made sure that they paid for it, and I graduated, did the work, and graduated. Him, solely him, 100% him, nobody else.
What did you decide to study, and more importantly, how did you find the resources to help you combat and climb that hill of illiteracy so that you could actually go to class?
Frank also paid for the tutoring. Without the tutoring, I couldn't have done it. Paid the tutor $20 an hour to sit with me every night for 4 years. I studied 15, 16, 17 hours a day to overcome illiteracy. I got tears rolling down my eyes every night. My head is hurting. My eyeballs want to fall out. I got blisters on my fingers from writing and reading. I take a needle and pop the blister and squeeze the water out and keep writing. You have no idea.
What was powering you through that?
God and how I've been mistreated in this society. And the messages to these kids: don't allow the system to mistreat you like that. You apply yourself. You sit down there. You do the work. You get your lesson. You be responsible. You take the liability that comes with it. Do your 50%, then let the system do their 50%. School is free from 1 year old to 18 years old. It's free. And then if you make high enough grades, you can get some more free school going to college on scholarship, academic scholarship. All kinds of ways instead of making all kinds of excuses. I didn't make no excuses, Tim. I did the work.
All right.
The
Well,
most powerful message I can give the people is that right there.
Well, speaking of the work, a lot of the work that you do now, you mentioned it before, is obviously getting into the heads of the kids now and trying to get them to fly right and straight and all, and recognizing maybe what they don't know is coming around the corner. How do you get it through into their brains, right? When, especially a system now, right? I mean, we're talking about your career in the 70s and the 80s. I mean, it's like night and day now in terms of truly how the professionalism has crept into the sport at the collegiate level and all that kind of stuff. It has got to be even more difficult as a kid who maybe doesn't have grades but is good at basketball. I mean, they see the money earlier and more often than ever, and they don't want to hear anything about the future, right? They want it now. How do you break through to those kids?
Instant gratification. I understand what you're saying. That's what they want, right? Any human being would like that, wouldn't it? And that's just a natural instinct.
Especially when you're young and impressionable and and you're fearless at this young ages, right?
Every human being would want that, right, Tim? They would get involved in something and would love to have instant gratification with it. That's just a human instinct, isn't it? Or am I missing something?
So how do you get them to look around the corner, even though they can't really think a few years out there for their life? I mean, even injury, right? That's the easiest thing for them to get across the line.
When I've done speaking engagements, I've had them come back to me 20 years later and tell me that they graduated from high school and college because they heard me do a speech. And they're a doctor and a lawyer now, an architect and a CEO. That's how. I've been doing it for 40 years. I started out telling you that. I've been speaking to them for 40 years. And they come back to me all the time telling me, thank you, Dean. I got letters I can send you and prove it to you. So yes, I know how to get their attention, but I can't get a platform in America to get it done. It's awful.
Well, it's got to be really, hard to take now with what's going on now with. Now, I guess I want to get your sense of where the college game is now.
How to reach them if you're listening.
Yeah. Well, no, but I guess my point.
See, anybody can't get up there and do this. What we talking about? See, just any old body, they ain't gonna listen to them. You understand that? They ain't gonna listen. But if I walk in and they say, "Here's the NBA player, Dean Tolson. He's 6'9". You can hear a pin falling out of the auditorium with 2,000 kids. But I got to twist people's arms to get this told in America. It's awful.
But harder now, even harder, right? Given NIL and all the other, and the money, both upwards and now downwards.
I have been through 100% of it. There's nothing I'm missing in this story. All I need is a platform, and I can start to get caps and gowns on kids' heads. I know how to make them understand. I've been doing it for 40 years. I keep saying it, but nobody listens. Falls on deaf ears for 40 years. That's why I went and wrote the book. See, I wrote the book. You know how hard it is to write a book, Tim?
Oh, yes.
Okay,
even if you have excellent English skills, it's very difficult. It's a painful process.
My own money, Tim.
Yeah.
Nobody helped me do this. All I want to do is take it and help the kids. Give me the opportunity to help kids. That's it.
So I have to ask then. So what do you think? What do you make of the current system? I mean, it seems like there's even more incentive for kids not to listen.
It's failing. We're headed for a lost society if you'd have done the statistics. I sent you the statistics before we got on this show.
Yep, they're terrible.
7,000 a day drop out. One student drops out every 26 seconds of every day, all day. 1.2 million drop out of high school. What are to happen to these kids' future that's dropping out and flunking out and not graduating? Where do you think this is going?
And worse for historically a group of kids that are underprivileged to start with, right? They have less resources, who don't have a lot of
at-risk kids. Yes,
at risk. Yeah.
Okay. Start with them. They the worst group. Then you just got the normal group, a one-parent family. Okay. They're at home with a mom or a dad. So they're not getting the best of both worlds. They're only getting 50% of the world. Okay? Nobody's disciplining them. Nobody's teaching them. You can't spank them anymore for not doing what you tell them to do. See, when I'm in a speaking engagement, I bring up all these things to these kids to get their attention that they must take the responsibility themselves, even though all of these shortcomings they face within their life, like the one-parent family, they go to school hungry, all different sorts of things happen. And there's no blueprint for this, what I did. There ain't no blueprint or roadmap. This is pain, Tim. Pain.
And when you're young and talented,
for me to overcome this, it was painful. Do you understand that?
Yeah, and look, when you're young and talented, right? People don't feel like they're almost impervious to it. They don't feel like it's going to affect them or happen to them.
Okay. Right? It's going to happen. It's just a matter of time, Tim. Just like me, I thought I could play basketball forever, didn't I? When you're a kid, don't you think you can play forever? You never. This is like LeBron James. He don't think he had to quit playing, does he? And he's 40 years old. But they're not going to be LeBron James, and they're not going to play 40 years. It ain't going to happen. They ain't even going to play 2-3 years. But you can have that lesson for your whole life, and I call that from the cradle to the grave. Okay? That degree. You can keep it that long. From the time you're born until the time you die, nobody can take that from me now. Nobody. That's mine. And I can go out here and use it any way I want. And I'm doing that. I'm starting a nonprofit organization for kids so I can help them understand the seriousness of this graduating from high school and college. Starts in high school, but you got to be thinking that I'm going to go to college too after I finish high school. If you're not thinking that, then you're probably not going to think about going. But 68% of the graduating seniors in the state of Arizona, where I live right now, opted out of going to college. The class of 2023, 68%. That's 70% of them are not going to go to school, go to college after high school. Tragedy. That's a tragedy. And people don't understand the dynamics of this, man. It's serious business right now in America with this.
And not just kids who have the opportunity to play sports, right? Which is arguably a lifeline, right? There's a whole bunch of kids who have no talent in sports, right? And that's even worse.
Because now they got a 60-hour work week, okay? If they got a full ride scholarship and they playing full-time Division I sports, they got a 60-hour work week. They got to work 60 hours a week. Now, how many kids going to be disciplined to work 60 hours a week? You can't even get adults to work 40 hours a week. That's funny. And you're asking a kid to do 60 hours a week, 40 hours a week in his classwork, and 20 hours a week on the basketball, football, baseball court, practicing games out of town, games on the road, traveling. And then you still want him to win games for the school. I'm right here in Scottsdale, Arizona right now. They're having the Final Four here is sometime this month, end of this month. I'll probably go over there and look at it.
Well, that leads me to my last question, and then I'm going to let you unabashedly promote after that. So, um, uh, do you still love basketball? Can you still watch it and root for it at the collegiate level, at the pro level, or are you kind of done with that phase of your life and you're just where is basketball in your life now?
The basketball to me, Tim, has gone too commercial for me. It's too commercial. And what I mean, basketball was turned into Hollywood. All the players think they're in Hollywood and they're movie star. And they're not movie stars, they're basketball players. And I think that's where the divide is. We lost the divide in the game right there. And I love basketball. I don't like basketball. But going forward is, I think that psychologically it's getting into these kids' heads that it can become a distraction for them to get their degrees, wanting to get a scholarship, the 4-year scholarship to Division I to play basketball, and their ultimate dream is to get into the NBA and that sort of thing. I mean, it's just so far out there and outlandish. It's a pipe dream, Tim.
Well, with the portal, you got kids playing 4 different schools in 4 years. So how can you even get close to getting an education in that kind of system?
They're making it an impossibility. And what I feel is that we need to get back to the basics of education in society and get away from all this pie in the sky. We haven't lost generations behind it. That's my personal belief based on my experience, what I've gone through and what I see happening. You don't have to take it from me, but guess what? Something ain't right. Because these kids are not reading at grade level. If they're in the 3rd grade, they're not reading the 3rd grade level. If they're in the 6th grade, they're not reading the 6th grade level. They're in the 9th grade, they're not reading the 9th grade level. What do you think gonna happen when they keep doing that?
Yeah, and they're one injury away or worse, right? And that's when it really hits, and it's too late, maybe in some respects.
Now they're too old, and they're not going to get the Dean Tolson story where they get to go back and do it again because they was a superstar at a university, are they? They're not going to get that chance, are they, in their life? How many people you talk to that can tell you they hold the records at a Division I university? How many people you talk to in the history of the school? Well, you're talking to one right now. That's how many. And that's not very many, Tim. And these kids ain't gonna set the world on fire. That's what I'm trying to tell you. I set the world on fire, still couldn't do it.
Well, look, I think you're setting the world on fire one flame at a time, and God forbid we can help get a few more of those candles lit. No. Tell us about, so the book came out fairly recently. Give us the whole promotional spiel and where people can find you online and all that kind of stuff.
Go to my website, which is deantolson.com. There's a lot of good stuff out there on how I navigated this whole process and what they can, hone in on to help themselves with their motivation and inspiration for them to identify with my testimony and want to graduate from high school and college. They can look at my website and it will do that for you. Then they can get my book on Amazon.com. And the name of the book is Dean Tolson, Power Forward. The book is $28.95, and every parent in America should have my book in their home, sharing it with their kid or kids. Okay? That's the times we're living in and how important it is right now and how big the challenge is from this day forward. Start now. Don't wait to start your educational process. Start working on it now. If you're having trouble in school, start working now on that. And then when you can't figure out do the due diligence to go find some help and get you some tutoring help or somebody that can help you in the institutions that you attend to make sure that you graduate. That's my advice to the audience and the listeners. And I want to thank all the Tim Hanlon listeners out there and his audience that they take heed to this most vitally important message that we tried to deliver today. And you can talk to me through my website. I'll email you back questions to help you and your kids think the process through and give you the best of my ability to what I can offer in a way of help to get your kid to graduate from high school and college.
And you're still out on the road too, aren't you? You'll speak kind of anywhere, right?
Yeah. If they want me, I will come and talk to the kids. I'm 73 years old now, and I don't like talking to hardly anybody but the kids.
That's what keeps you young.
Yeah, I went up to Seattle and did one a couple of months ago and flew up there and went to the Boys and Girls Clubs and did a King 5 TV interview up there. It was fantastic and wonderful. And the kids, they really identified with what I'm talking about and they understood. And that's the big thing, Tim. Let's try to get people to understand what we're up against right now in society. I think you understand it because I can tell by the way you ask me the questions, you understand.
Well, look, this is an amazing story of personal courage and intent and frankly learning, right? Lifelong learning, right? You learning about yourself, learning about your difficulties, learning about how to reach out for help, learning how to help, accept that help, all that kind of stuff, right? This is bigger than just basketball.
You learn something every day of your life. If you ain't learning, then you ain't living. You're not living. You're just existing. You ain't learning nothing. And that's what I had to change in my life, to where I learn and not just exist. When I was playing basketball, I was just existing, just doing what I love to do. I didn't care. And now I don't not care about me. I care about everybody. Everybody need an education, don't they? Of some sort. Even if you don't get nothing but go to trade school, an apprenticeship, something. Electrician, the plumber. You still got to be able to read to make $80, $90 an hour. Nobody gets through the system without learning a skill. It don't take no skill to flip a hamburger at McDonald's and Burger King. That don't take any skill.
I appreciate your taking time, Dean. This has been great. I admire the story. I admire all of it. And I hope, and God bless you for sticking with the story and frankly bringing it to a wider audience now with this book. Hopefully that reaches more people than you could ever do just speech by speech, right?
One speech at a time, right?
Well, that's right. How about like a video or TV and that kind of stuff, or ever a film maybe, or is there any other things you could do media wise besides the book? I would imagine the story is a good life story.
I've been talking to some producers about it. It's definitely a motion picture film. I think more kids would see it that way, Tim. They would get to see the story for real if they would make a motion picture out of it. Absolutely. I tell people this right here. If Harry Potter sold 160 million copies of her book, then we need to sell 160 million copies of mine to these kids to get an education in life. Okay? And forget about some of that entertainment that they get in life. Let's get them an education in life. Not so much entertainment now. Too much entertainment, Tim.
That's true. That's very true. And distraction and yeah, right. Too much TikTok and not enough. All
that entertainment. Look, put your cell phones in your street locker at school and go to class and don't worry about it. Leave that cell phone in the locker and get with them books and learn skills and learn people skills. Learn to be polite. Learn to use manners. Thank you. No, thank you. See, these kids are missing all that. They don't know how to say hello, good morning, just something simple. And people think the world of you, but they don't know that. They weren't raised that way.
It's true. It's little things, right?
Your little things, Tim, turn into big things. That person you said good morning to, they go, whoa, he spoke to me. Well, maybe I'll interview him first and consider him for the job because none of the rest of them spoke to me but him. They don't know little things like that. I got simple old school methods that I use on kids that got me through once I learned to become educated. Take you a long way. You get a lot more flies with honey than you do with vinegar.
All right, our thanks to the basketball bandit himself, Dean Tolson. A wonderful conversation. Thank you, sir, for allowing us to have it. And I honestly believe that you will enjoy reading this story and being inspired by it. It is called Power Forward, My Journey from Illiterate NBA Player to a Magna Cum Laude Master's Degree. It is co-written with his co-author, Lindsay Harrison. It is available from Lions Press, and as they say, wherever good books are found, including, by the way, your local independent bookseller. If you'd like to take advantage of their wares and order it through them, we all, of course, encourage you to do that. But if you are inclined, we'd also appreciate you looking at our website at goodseatsstillavailable.com, searching up this episode number 347 with Dean. And you'll find a convenient link to the book there, and we'll get a couple of referral shekels of love. Not a lot, but it certainly helps add to the kitty, if you will, to keep our lights on and keep pumping out shows for you each and every week, as we like to do. You'll be whisked away to Amazon through that link, and you'll be able to get the either the hardcover or the Kindle version as quickly as humanly possible. You can find out more about Dean and his doings, how to get him to come to your organization to speak, stay in school, and the educational story and the inspirational background of his life learnings at deantolson.com. That's DEAN Tolson, TOLSON, deantolson.com. And again, of course, get the book too. And we appreciate you checking that out. And we also appreciate you checking out all of our other episodes as we like to post them there on our website at goodseatsstillavailable.com. Of course, the best way is to subscribe or follow us wherever you get podcasts. We're just about in every podcast feed, system, player, device, whatever you got to get podcasts into your life. If you have not been able to find us, let us know, because we'd be surprised if you couldn't. And of course, please, by all means, rate and review us, preferably with a 5-star or whatever the highest rating is there. And we'll certainly take constructive criticism. Lord knows we're not perfect, but if you like what you hear generally, give us a break and give us a little attaboy. We appreciate that. That helps the algorithm find us for other people who might be inclined to, hopefully, similarly enjoy what you hear from us on a weekly basis. You can follow us on social media. We're at, on the Twitter X thing, you'll find us at Good Seats Still. On Instagram and what else? Threads. Yeah, you'll find us at Good Seats Still Available. That's all one word. Good Seats Still Available. What else? You'll find us on Facebook at Good Seats Still Available. You'll find us on YouTube at Good Seats Still Available. Wherever else, check us out. We're mostly available at Good Seats Still Available. Okay, get the hint. With the exception of X Twitter, because Elon Musk is whatever. Let's see. You can also send us email. Yeah, you'll find us on the email thing at hello@goodseatsstillavailable.com. Hey, and by the way, last thing, and this is important. If you're on the Good Seats Still Available website, make sure you check out our merch and support section. Support, you can send us, you can literally and figuratively buy us a cup of coffee. There's a little button there on the website from our friends at Ko-Fi. And again, it's a little tip jar, if anything. We appreciate that. And merch, my goodness. We have convenient links to our longtime friends at royalretros.com. Great fare and wear there, as well as our friends at oldschoolshirts.com, and links to our merch at our friends at TeePublic. You'll find a couple of convenient links there. There's some Good Seats still available, branded merchandise there, as well as a very deep and extensive curated collection of forgotten sports teams and leagues and logos and that kind of stuff in T-shirts and mugs and stickers and all that kind of stuff. You can link to all of those things and buy those conveniently there on our merch tab section there at goodseatsstillavailable.com. All right, that's enough peddling of wares today. We appreciate you listening. Thanks for joining us, and we will talk to you. That's it. We'll talk to you next week. We appreciate it. Take care. Bye.